Hi, and welcome to Burn the Ship podcast. I'm Will Ross, your host. Burn the Ship podcast is a podcast for business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs to share their journey, their story with the greater business owner community. Today, I have a very special guest, a new friend of mine, Marika Ponton, with the Profitability Coach, also of Office Angels. Marika, thank you so much for joining me today.
My
And
pleasure to be here. Sorry.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and get us started with you sharing a little bit more about your journey. I know that just a brief background of what we shared in our kind of intro call, formerly on the corporate side of things, CPA background, and just a couple of, well, I'm sure many things, but a few that you had pointed out kind of led you to go ahead and take a step away from that environment. And I believe you started a couple of businesses that ultimately got to the Profitability Coach. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that journey, and I know our audience would too, if you wouldn't mind sharing it.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed our conversation, absolutely, and glad to consider you a new friend as well. And
Great.
um, you did a good job on the intro. I am a CPA. I spent many years auditing businesses, small businesses, large businesses, public companies, private companies, and learned so much in that, digging into financial statements and businesses from different angles is interesting and challenging at the same time. But as I progressed up the ranks and looked towards the future and really thought about what suits me, where do I belong, it just was obvious that it was not going to be in an environment that was overly corporate and rigid and where I needed to fit into something because I don't fit into much. And
Fair. I feel you.
yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, I've come to very much appreciate that about myself, that being unique and being different are what makes each of us a gem. And if you can
Absolutely.
appreciate it and highlight it and find where your unique skills excel, that's when the magic happens. And that wasn't going to be for me. And really, what it was just you did have to kind of meld in and go with the flow on certain things. And much to my parents' chagrin, I mean, I just don't go with the flow. I've
Yeah.
got ideas and I've got thoughts, and I like to try new things. I get bored. So I'm always looking for the next challenge. And hey, why not small business ownership? Because the first thought was I'm a boss. I'm my boss. No one
Yep.
else is. I don't have to ask for time off to either travel or take care of my parents who are, getting older every year.
Sure.
So that was really the first thought. And I know so many people out there struggle with those same things.
Yeah, it's a big first step.
If I can be, an example that this can work and you can do it and go ahead and burn that ship, then so be it. I think it's a really excellent name for your podcast. So
I would
that's
agree
how it
with you.
started.
That's how it started. So I know that when you share with me, a couple of things, big ships move slow. I think is one way you can kind of look at corporations. I like the side of small business in that, at Safe Harbor Insurance, at MP Group, our two sister companies, those are to have that sort of control to navigate as you would like to keep it in the we'll keep it nautical here for a little bit, but
I
to be able
like
to
it. Yep.
navigate, you know what I mean? That control and just sort of that trust in yourself and, just kind of dealing with the ebbs and the flows, the ups and the downs, the positives, the negatives. It's very rewarding, but it's also pretty stressful too, especially in the beginning. I know, for myself, I've been with Safe Harbor for roughly a year and a half, and, we're still getting, the wind behind our sails. I'm just on the nautical stuff today.
It's good. It's
But,
good. I'm waiting for
but,
those leaves to blow in the background there.
right.
Yeah.
So I know that journey has been, it's been rewarding, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I know one thing that kind of stood out to me that you had mentioned about your burn the ship moment. I think it was something along the lines of trying to get PTO and just not being able to get the time that you needed to take off. And, we all have different things outside of work. And so really being able to have that I'm my own boss, I determine my schedule is probably one of the biggest things that we hear on Burn the Ship. But it's a lot easier said than done. You know what I mean? Because then once you take that step, it's all on you. So from that moment, I know that you started. Now, did you say that you started a couple of other businesses, or you were involved with other
I
businesses
purchased
outside?
existing businesses actually.
Okay. Oh, all right.
That was really seemed the best for me, and it was a nod really to having the experience from the auditing companies.
Okay.
I'd seen so many existing businesses. I'd seen them struggle. I'd seen them flourish. What were those things that I could bring to an existing business and change them, transform them, and hopefully ultimately have, an exit plan for the next step. So it was existing businesses.
I got you. Okay. And then so that sort of led you into what I'm sure you're kind of doing on the side, which was the profitability coach, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So working with small businesses, Office Angels, my second business,
Okay.
we provide outsourced office services for small businesses of all kinds, different shapes, sizes, industries. And really, what started happening, this is a beautiful thing. I'd be on the phone for just an intake call. Someone called and said, "Hey, I need administrative help." And
Mm-hmm.
my nature is to ask questions and start
Right.
probing and how can we help knowing them and how can we help best. And of course, because of my background as a CPA, financials would always come up.
Yep.
And so then we'd start talking about, hey, what's going on? What can I help with? What are you struggling with? And that just opened up, unloading of information on me. And I started just by nature doing profitability coaching, even though it wasn't called that. I would
Okay.
look at their financials, and dig in, even just a couple of tips or ideas, or hey, what's going on with this line item? Why is that like that? That's not a natural balance. Those simple things. People would call back and say, oh my gosh, you opened up so many great things, and I hadn't even thought of it. Would you consider doing this again?
Right.
And at that time, I mean, it wasn't any kind of business at that time. I was just helping our existing clients.
Just
And
putting
as
good
I
karma
really
out there.
thought
Yeah.
about it, here I am. Here's another
Right.
business I can go into. And as I started doing it more, and working with an actual profitability coach, which there is, and that is the company, who's kind of inspired me to make it more formal, my passion for it and my zest has come out in a way that it hasn't in any of my other business ownership. Not that I didn't love those things in their own way, but this truly speaks to my background and also my experience as a small business owner. It combines everything. So I think it's truly the right thing and maybe what I was meant to do all along, but I had to go be a small business owner to bring that side of it to have the biggest value for my clients.
I think one of the big things, that I can appreciate, I think you can appreciate too, just based on the conversation we've had, is helping others, right? And then it's pretty powerful what you just shared too, that zest for life, kind of
Yep.
finding your place. And it's pretty special when those two things on my side of things, and I'm going to speak for you a little bit here too, and I want you to expand on it. But as far as being able to help others with my experience, it's something that I've focused on in my life. It's more or less that helping side of it, less so the money that really does give you that sort of like drive, if you will, to want to keep doing it and keep helping others. And I feel like it's pretty contagious as well. Like once you kind of start to put something that's in motion for somebody else, you can see the value here, or they can see the value for maybe, it's somebody who's in their business networking group or somewhere else to be able to say, hey, this is what, was done for me. How can it help you? And so it's just kind of that chain of events that starts to work. And it really comes from a genuine place, right? Like it's something that you enjoy doing, you enjoy helping somebody, but it's your experience of going through some of the stuff, right, with the corporate side and just the background and just knowing. I mean, for me, CPA is a very intimidating sort of career decision. I'll put it that way. I'm not the best of numbers
An
guys.
understatement, right?
Right, for sure. And so I think, one thing that we had touched on too is just like understanding how money can work for you. And when you think about owning a business and running a business more so, there's a lot of different pillars that are critical, right? And money is a big one. It's money coming in. It's how your money is getting used for you. And I know that that's an intimidating thing for me and something that I've leaned on others for from their experience. But that really feels like one of those big sort of ahas of like, I can see the value of what you are doing. And so what has your kind of feedback been from those individuals that you've helped? And who is kind of, I mean, you said small business, but and there's no one size fits all in this world, right? But
Right.
it's kind of like, where do you really see, what's the feedback been? Answer that question, I guess, from your clients. And then where is it that you've kind of taken that, or has it led to certain industries or certain sort of places that maybe you didn't expect, or how does that all play out?
All good questions and all good thoughts. And just when you started talking about helping others, your face and your smile changed. And
Sure.
I saw it, and it's the same for me. It truly is helping, seeing where you can improve their lives, improve
Yep.
their businesses. Because how this all started, I was doing it for free.
Right.
People were calling, and I'm just over here because I was enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like light bulb moment. This is probably what I should be doing because it was joyful.
Yep.
And, you know, who was it? It's industries all over the place.
Okay.
When I owned a franchise business before, I was very, very profitable in that. And other franchisees would call me and say, "How are you so profitable? What are you doing? And what's your secret?" I've been asked that so many times. There's
I bet.
no secret. It's zero secrets. I'll tell you everything, but you gotta understand and own your financials. And you don't have to be CPA own them. You don't. But can you glance at them? Number one, are they updated and timely? There's number one. But can
Right.
you glance at those updated and timely financials and see where something might be coming down the pipe that could be a challenge that you need to look at? Do you have enough cash to cover different things? There's some basics.
Yep.
And I've found that is where, just like you said, it is intimidating. It's hard. It's challenging. Not everyone's good with numbers. You don't have to be, but get someone, get coaching, get help, get education. And I can very much be a resource for that. And I've found that my nature, I'm not coming at it that, it's a negative thing. Let's just get you trained. Let's get you education so that you can run that thing to the
Yes.
best of your ability and have the tightest, most beautiful bottom line in your financials that you can have. And so it is intimidating, but I'm hoping with the way that I'm presenting it and the way I'm coming at it that it doesn't have to be. There is help. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to be embarrassed. Let's just dig in because if you don't dig in, that's when the scary happens and
Right.
you go off the rails and sometimes you can't get it back. And I've seen those stories too where, businesses have closed, they've failed. There were those in the franchise as well. I mean, you got to I know sales are important. They are. No revenue, there's nothing.
Right.
But what you do with that money that comes in on the next level of spending that revenue is just as crucial. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think what resonates there too, and I'm always trying to kind of connect the dots with what I'm doing on the insurance side of
Right,
things
right.
with who my guest may be. I mean, we're both in the financial services, and I told you how everyone believes that insurance is super sexy and loves to talk about it, and it's just something that's just no, that's not ever the experience. But
No,
what it is that
yeah.
I feel that I am trying or attempting to provide to my clients or to my prospects, which it feels very similar to what you're providing, is that peace of mind versus fear. And in insurance, it's really easy to sell fear. What if this happens? Well, what if that happens? Instead of, okay, here's the picture. Here's what you're concerned about. What is it that's really keeping you up at night? What can you afford from an insurance perspective? And how do we either risk, basically self-insure ourselves? Where do we go when we purchase, risk products that supplement for those areas? And what's the financial behind it? And is it worth it? Those are kind of different worlds of the financial, space, but I feel pretty similar to
Same.
what you're doing, right? And it's that understanding of what's out there and what's available to me or to you as the client. and how can my experience help you get to what you need to get. And I feel from you, you're selling that peace of mind as well, of just like, yeah, you can look at your balance sheet and you're going to understand because of this that means that, and then those sort of things make you so much better in those other pillars, right? I mean, you've got all these other things within your business that now this isn't out of mind, but it's secure, that you trust, that you know what the heck is going on, and there's so much, for me, value in that. So
And
I
it
love what
just
you're up to.
it all what you just said, it all boils down to confidence.
Yep.
And when you are confident in anything in life, but
100%.
specifically with what we're talking about, in your numbers, in your
Yes.
financials, you can make decisions one way or the other that you feel good about, you're confident in, and that you're not second guessing. Hey, maybe this month you are doing awesome. Go spend that thing that you've been wanting and planned for.
Right.
Great. That's what we want. But if you don't know and you go buy that thing and then you can't pay the bills or can't meet payroll or whatever it is, it's a spiral of spinning.
A
But
massive spiral.
yes, it's a spiral. And, even looking at vendors, like you said, talking about the insurance, having the confidence in knowing that your vendors have your best interest in mind, are
Right.
telling you if something is good, bad, ugly, indifferent. I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the information so that I can make that decision. So I think you're doing the right thing with the way you're presenting it and coming at it. Give the education, give the information, and people can make their decisions and feel confident in them. Because the
100%.
confidence, that's really, to me, at the core of everything, and really why I left corporate. It was I'm confident in my own self. And when you have that, what you can achieve, it's unlimited. And you don't need to be kept down or kept away or told that you're not good enough. You are.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
confidence is just it's almost my soapbox. It's so important
Yeah.
in so many things.
And so please forgive me because I don't recall the podcast, but I was watching a podcast the other day that was about essentially, not following others verbatim, right? You have a sales leader that you don't have to do things the exact same way as somebody else, or you don't have to compare what you're up to versus somebody else. You are on your own unique journey, right? And so by taking that sort of a step and trusting in yourself, you're ultimately going to lead to where you want to be at the end of, your career or of your day or of, this sort of chapter in your life versus you've mimicked someone else or you've tried to follow along because you've thought that that's, if I do it this way, then I can get to this. And you ultimately end up following somebody else's dreams was kind of the point of this podcast. And it was like, really take those opportunities to trust in yourself and to really get behind what feels maybe natural to you or what gives you that zest of life, as you mentioned earlier. And trust yourself, trust your gut. And that's what I hear from you just in your journey. And I mean, it resonates very deeply with me. So I appreciate it. And I just want you to hear me say it out loud.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful. I
yeah,
love it.
absolutely. So let's take a turn. So with the profitability coach, relatively new business. How long have you been, kind of out there, selling your services and really, complimenting these small business owners
Yeah.
who have reached out to engage?
Yeah, so the profitability coach has actually been around for 15 years. It is an
Okay.
existing business. There is
Okay.
a profitability coach. His name is Bill, and he's
Okay.
amazing. And when Bill and I met, I think it was he saw in me that I had this ability and that I
Yeah.
had something different. And so we started working together. And then
Okay.
I became a profitability coach
I
and
gotcha.
formalized, right?
Okay.
How long have I been doing this? I've been doing this for years. I
Right.
just hadn't been, engaged formally or being paid for my services.
Right.
I've been doing it literally 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm great with that. I love it. It's how I got to this point. The people that I helped along the way, if even if it was just one little gem that I helped them turn the corner or understand their expenses or ask them why they were spending that silly stuff when they don't have any revenue, it all led to this. So how long have I been formally doing it? This year. And it's been a compliment to the other business that I own. And actually, clients from that business are what inspired me to do this.
Okay.
So, yeah. Does that answer the question?
Totally. Absolutely, it does. And so there are others, be it individuals or companies that do similar sort of services to what you guys offer, right? So what would you say are some of those like kind of differentiators with you and with the profitability coach and you guys program, if you will? I don't know
Absolutely.
if
It's a
program's the
great
right word,
question.
but
There's so many wonderful service providers. And it's what I would say with anything. Like, look, just with you, there's how many insurance providers are there?
oh Lord, yeah,
But yeah, exactly. We've all got them. It's no problem. But again, if you've got the confidence in yourself and your skills and your product, you are going to find the people that identify with you. And so for me, I'll just speak to myself. What it is that it's the background. Number one, I'm a former corporate executive. How many are there out there of those who left and started a small business? That's one
yeah,
identifier.
big
I've been
time.
on the corporate side, I've owned small businesses. I know both sides. I think the next thing, and this is where it really this is some Marika-ness right here, and it's what I've called my brand of profitability coaching. I've called it Profit Truth
Okay,
because I just straight up tell it like it is. I am never going to sugarcoat something because it's what someone wants to hear or it's the easier thing. It's not aggressive, it's not out there, but when the time is right and I'm with a client, them hearing the hard truths, it's the only thing that's going to move forward, making change and increasing their bottom line. And that's me. It is what I've built my career on. It's what I have been known for. And some people can identify with it, and the others that can't, that's okay. I know it's hard, but the
sure.
right ones, the ones that really want that dig in, those are my clients.
I love it. I mean, I would think of it as kind of that tough love, right? Like
It
you
is.
you need to hear it, right? And it's one
Yep.
of those things that's one of the most. I mean, looking back just over, I mean, my life. I mean, a lot of it's just relationships, be it business or personal,
Right.
of that trying to sugarcoat things or trying to. I mean, I had a major issue for a time in my life of the grand gesture, right? So it's be like, oh, I know I need to do this, but now I haven't fully, satisfied what I think that this person expects. So now I need to make this grand gesture to make it okay.
Huh.
And no, it's just have that direct conversation up front, build that trust, build that rapport, and ultimately, I mean, it's a way of showing respect to that person instead of
Mhm.
it's almost disrespectful to kind of hold this back and think I'm smart enough to figure out a way to fix this thing in the background without actually just shooting that person direct and just saying, this is the way that it is. This is how I see it. Granted, it's my opinion, but I want to be honest with you. And so I think that there's so much value in working with people that bring that approach. And so I know that your clients have greatly benefited from that as well.
And don't
Um,
you think that the depth of the relationship can go further when there's that
automatically,
kind of honesty? Yes. And look, the
automatically.
years I spent in corporate, how much sugarcoating and going along with, what the herd wanted because
Yep.
that was the easier way.
Yeah.
Going my own way and burning that shit, it
Hmm.
really it empowered me and it unleashed me to be my true self. So it's just the real it's just value. That's all there is to it.
That's it. All right. Couple of my other just kind of normal go-tos, but I always like getting the perspective of my different guests because everybody's got a
I
different
like
sort of
it.
answer.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I've got two here. So one is within my life, mentors, influencers, those that have had an impact on my life. There are a handful that are there in my brain every day, right? And then there's plenty that have been along that path that have helped guide me in one way or another. Maybe it's a positive or a negative.
Right.
What would you say for you or some of your kind of those the biggest mentors or those that have kind of along your path that have helped encourage or push you in the right direction?
It's a great question. I'm glad you ask it all the time because we should be thinking about those things. And the one that I mean, there's two, but the one that is the best story that comes to mind is my grandpa.
Okay.
And he was a farmer and of various different things in California. So we pretty much grew up going, out on the farm and helping him in whatever way we could, even if we
Sure.
weren't helping. And he taught me how to drive a forklift very young.
Okay.
It's probably how I'm so, I was an old soul at 10, but
Yeah.
one time, I don't remember the age, I want to say 7 or 8 or something. I was driving the forklift and I literally rammed the forks into a very expensive, I think, peach box. Maybe it
Okay.
was a walnut, I can't remember, and completely ruined it. And
Yeah.
I don't forget the terror I felt, like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble right now. Should I just hide? What do I do? And he heard it, of course, and came
Yeah.
running over. And I looked, just waiting, and he wasn't mad. He said, "That's okay. That's how you learn." And I'm gonna just choke up even again thinking about it, and because it's stuck with me, like to this
Mm-hmm.
day. Mistakes are how you learn, they're how you grow. I love them because if I hadn't had that happen, I mean, how would I have not known the next time to not do that or to lift the forks or whatever it might be? Mistakes and challenges are what have made me such a strong individual.
Absolutely.
So that one, it just, I think of him randomly and I can hear his voice even saying it. He's not with us anymore, but he is with me every single day. And
That's
I
awesome.
bring a lot of that into my coaching because I think people are, especially people who've come from corporate, you can, mistakes are, you hide them. You don't want to tell anybody. You're supposed to be perfect, and no one is.
Right.
So coming to a small business, I mean, you're going to get kicked in the face constantly. You're going to make mistakes. They are there waiting to happen. It's how you deal with them and learn from them and go forward and make them an asset to you instead of
Absolutely.
holding you back because you messed up. So that's the first one. And the second one is two people. And of course, it's my parents,
Okay.
because they're just everything. They made me strong as well. They challenged me. They pushed me so hard. I always said as a kid maybe it was too much, but as an adult and what I've achieved and the self confidence that I have, I am just so thankful that I had them. And as things have gone on and they're elderly now and
Sure.
have sicknesses and I help them with things, it's just anything that I can do to give back to them
Yep.
because of everything they did for me and how they made me, again, be this strong and capable and nimble. I can move things around, all the things I've done. It's from them.
I love it.
So it means a lot. It's all family, really.
Yeah.
There's people that have been in business and different. There are. I can't forget them, but
Sure.
those are the most important to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny, I mean, there's no guidebook for parents, right? And it's one of those
Right?
things like the older that I get, the more, you kind of look back on situations and whatnot. It's like, dang, man, they handled that so well versus
Right?
like how I would have navigated that and, my mental, space that I'm in now. And I mean, I don't have kids. I guess let's see, my dad would have had at my age now, I think I would have been like 12 or 13. So like dealing with a 13-year-old young version of myself,
How
like,
about that? Yeah.
right, it's wild. And so that is one of those things that just further grows that love for me too, of just like, man, like the amount of sacrifice and just kind of like mental awareness and genuinely doing the best that they could in that moment, and how right it was. Right, it wasn't one of those things where you're looking back and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to give you some grace on this. It's like, dang, you did that. And it's not like I'm the oldest one, so it's like they did a great job of just kind of navigating as it came. And it's like, dude, good on you. So I love hearing that about your parents,
Close
because
with your
that's not
family too.
everyone's experience. And
Right.
so I know
It's
that I'm
not.
very fortunate,
Yeah. Good. I'm
as are
glad.
you.
I'm glad. Yeah. It's not everyone's experience. And I hear that with people a lot when we're talking. If their family situation was challenging or different, or they didn't have that support to grow their own healthy self confidence,
Right.
that's
Absolutely.
that's important to me. I want to know that,
Huge.
especially in coaching, because I want
Yes.
to know where they're coming from and
Yep.
where are they deficient in something that I can potentially help them grow a seed that can bring that up to something that is of value to them.
I like grow a seed. That's a great line.
Grow a seed. I mean,
Right,
it's
because you
it's
can't change a person, but you can
nope.
absolutely help plant those seeds and really let them see what that fruit can bear. down the line versus, forcing something upon somebody and they're not truly committed to it. I love that. I like the idea
Gotta
of,
grow.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. All right, I'm going to flip it a little bit here. Not that it's negative, but it's sort of a negative. What would you say are some of or one of the biggest hurdles going from corporate to where you are now that has shaped the person that you are? I mean, again, back to some of those things that even when you fail, how it's a lesson and something you can take from it. But what would, an example of a hurdle or a scenario or something that comes to mind for you?
It's easy, too. I mean, anyone out there listening that's a small business owner, I mean, it's all you. It's all you. All those things in corporate that some other department was doing or supporting or had resources, that's gone.
Gone.
And it's gone. And you're like, "Oh, wait, what have I done?" So, it's the resourcefulness.
Sure.
You have to be resourceful to be a small business owner. You have to have grit, and because it's daily, it changes daily. You don't know what's coming at you from one day to the next. Even though yes, you are in control of your own schedule and of your own life in a different way, the unknown of what am I going to have to handle? What thing that I didn't even think of is
That's it.
coming.
Yeah.
It's just like what? I mean, it's all that. And I've
Yeah.
laughed. I mean, sometimes it's like, yeah, the cushy corporate cube where I could just go into the break room, and get something that they've provided
Yep.
doesn't sound all that bad every now and then. And then I
Sure.
think I can't. And then I think about no, there's the other stuff. So it's the unknowns, it's doing everything yourself, your marketing, your HR, your all those departments. But you find ways to work around it if your motivation is to stay in small business and be
Yep.
successful and be profitable. So
Absolutely.
you're just hit with things you just wouldn't have known. You
You
can't plan for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. That's
No,
it.
you don't. So you
My
want to be around
roommates.
others,
Yeah.
being in groups or networking or being in masterminds, getting a coach you can talk to. Like you do, it is relatively lonely unless you're reaching out and having those things. I mean, even this conversation we're having, it's great for me,
Sure.
I see that you're understanding what I've been through and finding little gems you've said too to inspire me. So you want to get out there and be around others who are doing it because that helps ease some of the challenge.
I think my college roommates were Canadian, and they would use the term "head on a swivel," and I
Yep,
really feel that, right? It's like a hockey term of you always got to keep your eyes in the back of your head, right? Because you do
literally.
have control of your schedule until that next call comes
You
in,
don't
because you don't,
until
right?
you don't.
You
Yeah,
got to be
yeah.
flexible. There's got to be some flexibility there.
And that's it.
Um,
And so you might not that thing you had planned or whatever. Something might change, and you got to move it, but you can move it to another day.
that's it.
And you
That's
can
it.
move it around, and that's what you don't have in corporate.
Hundred
You
percent.
are on their dime, and that's
Yeah,
how it works.
it is.
So the freedom to make moves, even if they don't all work out exactly,
Right.
it it meant more to me than staying in something more safe.
Absolutely. I think sometimes pride gets in our way. It has in my life of just not asking for help or not asking
Right.
the right way for help or sugarcoating around what it is that you truly need. And, one of the biggest gifts I'm going to say, I'm proud of myself that I am of my own self. One of my, I'm proud of is starting to engage with others, starting to reach out, starting to have confidence in myself of saying, look, I don't know, but I know you do.
Yeah.
And it's been just so empowering to get to the other side of this, because now it's like I have all of these great resources and I'm blown away with how much people want to help. I always want to help, but I always don't always think of others looking at me that way. And so it's been really nice once you start to ask, you really start to build that community and that understanding of like, we're all in this together, and there is a lot of opportunity out there. Even if it's somebody who's an insurance agent that's a competitor of mine, quote unquote, I still
Absolutely.
learn from those guys all the time, and they become referral partners. And so now when I have somebody who reaches out to me, if I can't help that person, I have somebody A, B, C, and D who can. And I know that person because we've had deeper conversations. We know each other. And that all started with taking the step away from that guy does the same thing I do. He's a competitor. We can't talk, or he's been
No,
in the
you
business for
should
50
talk.
years. Who would I be to
Yes.
ask him, this question? And so it's
And
wild
he's
how
over
much.
there waiting for him to ask, waiting for you to
Right.
ask.
That's it. That's it. That is it.
Not
All right. Well,
knowing something is not a negative. It's, not reaching out, not getting educated, not
that's it.
looking for the answers. So agree.
Yeah, it's that, if I don't know the answer, I'm very confident that I can find it. And that
Yeah.
is something that is so empowering to, I'm not afraid to say, look, I don't know, but I will,
Yep.
and those are huge steps to take,
But we're
at least
going
from my
back to
career that I've been.
self-confidence again.
That's it. That
That's
is it.
it.
All right. Well, I am the habitually long podcaster here with Burn the Ship, and we are in our 40th minute. We're rocking it. I think we have
Are
plenty
we?
more time
Wow.
to talk
Okay.
about. I know. Flies by when you're having fun. I'm going to wrap with my last two questions. So for you, with your businesses, what's next? What's next for you?
It's a great question. What's next is growing profitability coaching. It
Beautiful.
truly is. It is where I belong. It's where I am finding my own, flourishing nature. What I want to do for others is help them flourish in their small business. But I'm feeling just such an openness and an excitement about growing this, getting more
That's awesome.
clients, helping more people, expanding it to different products. So to me, that's really my focus right now is expanding profitability coaching.
Perfect. And that leads me right to our next and kind of final question. So our audience, how can we find you, right? Are you on social media? Do you have a website? What are those kind of contact points? Can you just share those with us really
Great
quickly?
questions. And I'm working on building out some of the profitability coaching, but I am relatively easy to find. I have a unique name. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. That's my main platform,
Okay.
Marika Ponton. You can't miss me. I am there.
Gotcha.
You can find me on theprofitabilitycoach.net. I'm
.net.
also there. That's the website. Or just by email, Marika at theprofitabilitycoach.net. And I would say those are the three easiest ways, but I'm not hard to find. There's
Perfect.
not too many Marikas.
That's true. That is
There
very
are
true.
a few, though. There are a few,
Yeah.
and they're all cool.
Nice. You've
Yes.
talked to every one of them.
I've tried.
made sure.
I've tried.
I made sure. That's great. Well, that's all the questions I have. Are there any, closing statements, anything you want to share with us? Final thoughts?
Sure. First of
Words
all,
of wisdom?
again, thank you. It has been an
Absolutely. Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure. I think you have a great vibe. I think you're doing great things.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you really do. You're very positive, very open. You ask great questions. I can tell you actually care about the
Sure.
answers, and that shows. So you're doing great things. And again, just my biggest platform that means something to me is if you don't know something, if you're struggling, just reach out to someone. It doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be you, but there
Yep.
are resources in whatever it is. Mine just happens to be financial statements of small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
but resources are out there and many
They
of
are.
them are free. Education is out there. Just do something. Don't sit and struggle and spin into that spiral. Help is
It's the
out there.
worst place. Yep, it is. It absolutely is. Well,
Yep.
listen, I can't thank you enough for your time and for our conversations. I look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. Know that, my team, myself, we're all here for you. And, like I said, I'd like to revisit this and continue the conversation
Absolutely.
offline.
My
And,
pleasure.
but that'll wrap it up for us today. So this is Marika with the Profitability Coach, Office Angels. Thank you so much again for your time today, and I look forward to speaking again.
Thanks, Will. Have a great one.
You too. See you, Marika.
Bye.